Michael Porter Jr. was always looked at as just the shooter alongside Nikola Jokic. Obviously, as a prospect, he did have a lot more juice in his game, but injuries and his fit with Denver kind of pushed him into your typical spot-up or movement shooter role. So when he got moved to Brooklyn, many people, including me, thought he was going to be overtasked as the head of the offense. But through the first 19 games of the season, he's averaging a pretty efficient 25 points. And with him in the lineup, the Nets are currently on a 3-game winning streak, with him dropping 30 in each matchup. And the way Porter has been going about getting his buckets this season has been kind of different. Now, before we dive into what's really changed for him this season, the first thing we still have to talk about is his outside shooting, because this is pretty much where his entire game stems from. As a perimeter scorer, Porter checks literally all the boxes. He has fluid mechanics, great lift, plus that tough shot making gene. One thing you'll kind of notice about Porter's mechanics is that he does have this big dip before he releases. And this may be frowned upon by some shooting coaches, but I honestly don't mind it, because this brief dip also allows him to channel much more pop off the floor. And that elevation makes up for that little pause that he has before he releases. Look how he's initially going to catch the ball at shoulder level, to then again bring it down to his waist. And even though Buzelis has more time to close the distance, he's still late to get a hand up in that shooting window. Pretty much the same concept here, but instead Porter's playing off the catch, with the ball on his outside hip. And from here, it's another rise up 3 right in the defense's face. Now, as an outside scorer, Porter is much more than just a standstill shooter. First, he has the footwork and balance to really effectively generate shots on the move, where he's comfortable blasting into looks from every possible angle. He can move laterally off a handoff or relocate on the perimeter, or move uphill and still set his feet for balanced shots. This is a unique play here, where Porter in the paint gets this handoff from below the arc, and from here he has the control to organize his feet behind the line and rise up for a perfectly vertical jumper. Again, the balance and footwork on shots like these is elite. This shot here is also really interesting, where it looks like just a left-right step into a shot, but notice how he perfectly times this pass by pausing off that right foot. And that split second gives the ball more time to travel to him, which gives him better timing with this left-right motion. While getting into these movement shots, Porter can also use his dribble to create additional space by either running through the pass for rhythm one dribble pull-ups or using the dribble to relocate into open space. The defense here cheats under this handoff, so it's just a one dribble sidestep to his right. Again, whether he's shooting off the dribble or move, he just has a way for making really tough shots. This is a bonkers jumper here in isolation, where Porter first crosses the ball to his right, then brings that left foot forward to separate for a step back. And with his feet and hips pointing towards the right corner here, look how he's going to rotate his body back across and get himself angled to the rim. Now, that ability to take and make tough shots can be a double-edged sword. On one end, the guy finds a way to put the ball through the hoop while being off balance and heavily contested. But then on the other end, he often forces up just really bad shots, where he's contested, double-teamed, or it's early in the shot clock. And this kind of is the back and forth battle that MPJ has had throughout his entire career. Again, the guy is a really good tough shot maker, but at the same time, he also takes bad shots that don't go in. Over his last 3 seasons, Porter has shot under 40% from 3, and I think that's entirely because of his shot selection. But with a gunslinger like MPJ, shots like this do come with the territory. Now this year, MPJ has looked a lot more aggressive off the dribble, and we did see this in spots with Denver, but their offense wasn't really built around him being an off the dribble slasher, and plays like this were few and far between. But with Brooklyn, they've been getting some of their best offense with him putting the ball down and being aggressive. When playing downhill, Porter obviously isn't the most slithery guy in the paint. But at 6'10" with a pretty good physical frame, he can initiate contact to move the defense off their spot, plus cover a good amount of ground with these pickups and strides. One move he's been hitting a lot of is his bump euro, where he first initiates contact with that inside shoulder, while also gathering off the inside foot. And from here, he has 2 more steps to extend with. We'll see him hit the same move here, where he gets ahead of steam going towards the basket, and watch him initiate contact into Vooch to then step back across. And in general, I also feel like people sleep on how good of an athlete MPJ is. He's obviously not Amen Thompson, but for his size, he has pretty good control and lift. And if he gets momentum going towards the basket, he can be pretty overwhelming for most defenders. Off the catch, Porter's also pretty good at playing off his shot. If he feels the defense out of position, he'll just transfer that energy right into a drive. I love this move and read here, where off the catch, he's going to sell out the shot by dipping his level and throwing up his eyes. And from here, he's in the perfect position to explode to the basket. And below the arc, Porter also has a pretty good in-between game. If the defense is sagged back and loading up the paint, he has no problem stopping short and popping jumpers. And because of that size and lift, he doesn't have to generate a ton of space to rise up. You'll often see him use these shoulder bumps, or just have the goal to rise up right into the defense's face. As he curls off his handoff, look how Bridges is attached to his shoulder and working his way around. But Porter again has no problem finding his space and rising up like he's playing Nerf hoops.
Advanced.
Off the ball, MPJ also does really good work cutting to the rim. And again, pretty much all of these looks stem from that outside threat, where defenses are so paranoid about running him off the line, they just give him clear angles to dive towards the rim. Look how Jeremiah Fears here has his back towards the ball, and he's just giving up the angle for a backdoor cut. Porter's also really good at reading the defense and finding these opportunities to slash the basket. He's supposed to receive a flare screen here, but watch him instead just face cut towards the middle. And once he gets in the paint, it's right back to playing on two and using that size to finish. So in essence, that's pretty much how MPJ has been doing his scoring damage. The guy is still an elite movement shooter. He's great at weaponizing that outside threat to create offense below the arc. And when playing downhill, he does have good tools as a slasher. He's strong, tall, and has underrated body control. And then off the ball, he's great at reading the defense and capitalizing off breakdowns. Now, it's also important to note that when Porter does put the ball down below the arc, there are some real limitations. First, if it gets walled off by the defense, he very much falls back into cracking up tough shots. And while he does have lots of good tools as a driver, he still doesn't have enough depth in his game to deal with elite size around the basket. He's not a super explosive above the rim athlete, and he doesn't have the game to fluidly navigate through traffic. But despite Porter not having a crazy high offensive ceiling, I think he does have the game to provide consistent scoring on a night-to-night basis. Obviously, his shot selection does pull his efficiency down, but I see him easily being a 25+ scorer for the rest of the season. Another new element that we've been seeing from MPJ this year is going to be his playmaking, and more specifically his playmaking off the ball. Because Porter is usually the primary focus of the defense, he does kind of have this Curry effect when working out different actions, where that off-ball movement pulls defensive gravity towards him and clears up space for his teammates. Look how this pin down here occupies a weak side defense, clearing up space for a driving kick, which leads to a breakdown and open shot. Same concept here. Porter blasting off this pin down screen pulls two defenders up, which leads to another paint touch and open shot. Now, Porter does have some good elements as a passer with the rock in his hands. If he gets two on the ball, he's pretty good at making the right play, while at times having the feel to read the weak side defense. But with the ball in his hands, I don't think Porter is a very reliable passer. In pick and roll, he has a hard time finding the right windows to hit the roller, and he often bites off more than he can chew, and will force the issue on really tough reads. And things like this are expected, being the third or fourth option on Denver for 6 years. While sure, Porter could get better at these reads going forward, I still don't think he has the handle or feel to be this wizard passer out of pick and roll. So while the Nets are still a bottom of the barrel team, MPJ kind of does give them a puncher's chance in every matchup. The guy's a ridiculous shot maker, he's a pretty well-rounded scorer, and that off-ball gravity does free up space for the Nets' other young players. And with him on the court, Brooklyn is a fun watch.